Hi, I am Francisco Castrejon. Welcome to our program, Chico 85. Today we will talk about the poetry in the school. Our guest, John Barbero, he has been teaching poetry for several years, and he will explain us what all this program is about. Hi, John. What is the Poets in the School program?
Well, Francisco, the California Poets in the Schools program is a statewide organization that places practicing and published poets in the classrooms. And our purpose is to help motivate children, to give them, to share our love of writing, and to hopefully impart that to the children.
All right. How long has this program been existing in California and Butte County?
Well, it started in the early 60s, and it was called the Pegasus Project then. And basically then, it was a group of poets who were going into the classrooms to read their own poetry to the students and just show the students that poetry is a living, vital thing. It's just not something that's in a textbook. And it's been in Butte County since 1979. There's 7 poets involved in the program here in Butte County. Joanne Allred and Kathleen Gallo, Mark Rodriguez, Susan Woolridge, Deborah Woodard, and Sharon Paquin and myself are the poets in this area.
All right. Does every classroom in this area have the chance to participate in this program?
Well, unfortunately not. It's all contingent on funding, and so we offer the program. We make it available to all the schools, not only in Butte County, but in Redding, and we've worked in Tehama County and Glenn County, and we're trying to expand it to Colusa right now. And if the schools have money, such as the school improvement programs for lower education status children, or the gifted and talented programs can fund this program. And also we have grants. We have a couple of really good grant writers, and we just finished a 2-year program in 15 rural schools of cultural enrichment that was funded by Chevron and Bank of America.
What kind of poetry are you doing with the children?
It's kind of in a state of evolution. I started by using some of the more famous great poets, and then as I worked in the program, I realized that was it. Kind of children were somewhat alienated from that, and so I started using examples of other children's poetry, and that seems to it's more accessible to the children, and so that's kind of what we've been doing now.
So what kind of challenge have you faced teaching to the children?
Well, I don't know. There's a few challenges. Basically, I'm a writer, and I feel more comfortable, when I can write something down and rewrite it and hone it and work on it a bunch of times. And so, to go into a classroom and just kind of speak, and try to teach these ideas to children has been kind of a challenge for me. And then there's a lot of preconceptions that the teachers and children and everybody has about poetry, just because of the way poetry has been presented for so long. And so you have to kind of break down those preconceptions. Kids think that poems always have to rhyme, for instance, and that's not the case. We're dealing with images and rhythms and different individual feelings that the kids themselves have. And so you have to establish a rapport and be able to work with the kids themselves and build up some sort of confidence.
Mm-hmm. So how do you do your workshop? Can you explain us?
Mm-hmm. Let's see. There's depending on the funding and what resources and things we have available, we try to offer at least 5 sessions with a class. And I prefer doing 10 sessions with a class, because 5 are with 5 sessions you can lay down the foundations, and then the other 5 you can kind of play with that. And there's certain things that you always, we try to emphasize, and one of them is the use of the senses. And the other thing is that everybody has feelings, I tell the kids. And what you're doing as a poet or as a musician or an artist or anything is you're taking your feelings and communicating them to somebody else. And I've got some examples. One lesson I do when I'm doing a workshop, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and start thinking, well, how can I get this idea over to the kids? And so it's always churning in my mind and everything. And we're always getting together and having we swap ideas with the other poets, on a county level and a statewide level. And so this one exercise that I use talks about taking the 5 senses and then stirring a little imagination into it and seeing what kind of leap you can make from that. And so there's a poem I wrote specifically for this exercise called Spring Field Holler number 38. And I'd like to read that to you now, and if you don't mind.
Yes, okay.
Okay. The winds blow from the south on Sundays in my backyard and make me spin cartwheels across the lawn. Mosquitoes dig their nasty proboscis into my sweaty pores as I roll and tumble. Cut grass pine smoke smells dance their olfactory shuffles, and I hear sounds 8,000 light years away. All the doors open, and the whole sensory universe comes filing in. I stand in the exact center of my mind and shake hands with everything. I shake hands with ancient philosophies, Ford Mustangs, and French fries. I'm introduced to fragile concepts, and they curtsy and politely mew. Boisterous galaxies boom through the doorways, riding blown hogs, chopped and metal flaked. I've contracted with the Black Hole Sanitation Company to keep the place tidy, and when everything is assembled, I pass out cheese and salami snacks. It turns into a real party. We bring on the entertainment. 4 or 5 floundering civilizations form a chorus line and flourish and flip-flop across the waxy floor. Then, for the finale, I put on my Roy Rogers suit and raise my squeaky arm for silence. All the hubbub stops as my thin, clear voice pipes across the vastness. I'm glad to see you all could make it, I peep. And I just wanted to thank everything and tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing for me. And I just wanted to tell you to keep up the good work. There was a tinkle of applause from the Milky Way, and light waves broke into amusing patterns at my feet. Pretty soon, everything in the universe was sitting in a circle inside my mind, all hugging and telling jokes, all the misogynic paradoxes perfectly balanced and humming home like a musical top. And the south wind kept blowing, and I kept spinning forever hand over foot down a long green hill filled with purple wildflowers. So this was the example I gave to the kids to talk about, to think about just some completely different things, like say, for instance, in this one, that if you could have the whole universe in your mind, how could you portray that? And
this is your book?
Yeah, this is a book I just recently brought out called Music Once Made Like Love.
All right. And how many poems do you have?
There's 32 pages. I don't know, maybe about 20 poems or so.
20 poems. All right.
And so when I used this poem in the exercise, a child named Shadrach Racer in Cohasset wrote a poem that we were putting into a county anthology. This is it's at the printers now, and it hasn't been bound. We're waiting for it to get back, but this is the inside of it.
So that poem, the kid wrote, or who wrote this poem that you?
This one I'm going to read right now. It's from a fourth grader in Cohasset Elementary.
I see.
And it was based on. I used this poem I just read that I wrote, as my example for the kids to follow. Mm-hmm. And so he came up with this, and it's pretty nice. It's called The Universe. The sun is the apple of my life, but it has a worm in it. The moon is my cheese sandwich. The stars are flashlights to guide me all the way. The comet is my baseball which I threw. The space shuttle is my Hot Wheels I play with till night, and Pluto is my dog that sleeps by my bed. I eat Mars bars for a snack. The Jolly Green Giant is a Star Wars guy to me. The black hole is my goat. It eats everything. The Milky Way is my afternoon drink. I am the universe.
Oh, really nice poem. So tell me, what is the reaction of the students about the workshop that you do with them? What is your impression about the reaction of them?
That's probably one of the nicest things about working, in this program, is that the kids are so receptive and they're so eager to be able to share their feelings. So when you walk into the classroom, everybody's all, oh, here's the poet, oh, great, how's it going, John? And they really love it. And you can see them kind of open up, to be taken seriously by an adult who is willing to listen to them instead of just feeding them information all the time. You know, it's really a positive thing for them. And what we do in the workshops is that we take, after we do all the sessions, I take examples of all the kids' poems and put them into little chapbooks, somewhat like this. This is one I just did in Red Bluff called "Someone Plays the Flute," and so they have this tangible record of, you know, the work they've done, and they can take it home and share it and keep it in it, and it really makes them feel really important.
Let me see. This book. Where did you get the title? That is the book.
That was the name of one of the poems that a student wrote. Carrie Songer, I believe, wrote that one. And what we did is I played music, and I had the kids. I said, "What kind of images does the music conjure up in your mind?" And she wrote this really nice poem called "Someone Plays the Flute."
So in each session that you make one of these books for all the kids, or
yeah, that's pretty much part of the program, and it's kind of a good closing thing. I did this is another one I just did in Red Bluff called the Gizmo Retraction F1431152911124 Time Machine, and it's from another class, and it's, you know, it's basically the same thing. And what we do, I mentioned our county anthology, where we take poems from all the schools that we've worked in and put them into a county anthology. And here's one we did a couple of years ago called Alive as Everything Else. And then this is going to be our new one. And then we also, I didn't bring an example, but we have a state anthology from all over the state. All the poets submit, you know, poems for that.
What do you think the children are getting out of the program, and what benefits?
Well, there's a few things. I believe that probably the most important thing is that it's an aid to self-knowledge, because when you write a poem, you're pinpointing how you feel at a certain time, and so you have that tangible record. And so when a child has that, you know, we're trying to teach a way that they can get in touch with their feelings and to be able to share those, and on a maybe a grander scale, that people need to be able to communicate with each other. You know, there's so much misunderstanding that happens between people, and writing poetry is a way of saying, well, this is how I feel, you know, this is me, and I think that's a really important thing now. And another benefit is that the child, their self-confidence grows. They feel, you know, that they're valid, you know, in their beliefs and feelings, and if they can learn how to share those things, then they feel better about themselves. And I think that's probably the most important thing.
All right. So, how long have you been involved in this program?
This is my 4th school year.
All right. And how long have you been writing poetry?
Well, I've ever since I was as long back as I can remember, as a small child, I was drawing pictures and writing little stories and making up little fantasies and things. And drawing pictures in little children is a way of writing. You know, before you learn how to write words and do that whole abstract thing, you draw pictures. And then I started writing poems when I was 16. You know, official poems that are written down in words.
And how this come? Why in that time was a special reason that you start writing your poems?
Well, it's kind of interesting that my father had a gas station. We lived up in the Cascade Mountains on a lake called Lake Sammamish, and my father had a gas station, and this lake was an S-shaped kind of thing, and we lived on one end, and the gas station was on the other. And one day, my best friend, his family had a brand new 1962 bright red Corvair, and we took it to the gas station to lube it and do all the, you know, the maintenance things on it. And then it was my dad says, okay, we'll drive the car back and give it to the people. It's all done. And on the way back around the lake, I was going a little fast, and I wrecked the car. I rolled it a few times and smacked into the telephone pole and all these things. And luckily I wasn't hurt, but the car looked kind of like a little red pretzel at that point. And so I had to go to my best friend's family and say, well, here's the car keys, you know. The car is at the record yard. and I had to give my best friend my car for until they had a new car, and I lost my driver's license for 2 months. And my best friend had my car, and he took my girlfriend, and I was just sitting at home. And I says, "Well, I guess I'll write a poem about that."
Hey, we don't have too much time left. Can you read one more poem for us?
Sure.
Um,
There's nothing a poet likes better than reading their own work. Okay, this is called Visions of Mystical Radiators on Mount Shasta. I wake up thinking about overheated radiators, warped heads, and burnt-out valves. At 6:26, I drive into town to catch the radiator man early. He's already up, brazing obvious leaks, standing by his pressure tank dogmatic as Vulcan. He says he's got 7 to finish by 10. Asks me what I'm doing up so early. Inspired by Shasta, I move to majestic sparseness. My radiator I clip. I'm on vacation. It's overheating. His torch heats copper. Solder flows like spring snow cascading down the transmuted surface. Inside the mountain, giant alchemists, awaiting the seekers, prepare their fires, stir their pots of flux. Bring it back by 9:30, the radiator man says. We'll have it done by noon. I'm back at camp at 7:08. Everyone's still asleep. I put on some coffee and start thinking about the hitchhiking pilgrim we met yesterday. I'm just a baby, he bragged. I've been on my spirit quest. 3 days, fasting on the mountain. Did you find it, I asked, checking my temperature gauge. Yeah, he said. Don't mix salami and mayonnaise. Blessing our root beer floats, he departed. Back at the pressure tank, the radiator man plugs another pinhole leak. Working steadily, by 8:15, he's already fixed 4 radiators. By 8:17, hundreds of seekers are putting the sunscreen on their noses, getting ready for the quest. At 9, they start running the mountain. Holding their medicine bags open in front, they scoop up enlightenment. The mystical vibes flow fast and heavy. I finish the coffee and head back into town. Maybe he's ready for me, I entreat the mountain, fingering my prayer beads. I pull the radiator and give it to him. Then, to kill time, I start walking through town. I walk for an hour, and when I get to the I Am reading room, I turn around and walk back to the radiator shop. The radiator man's little kids are dancing around in the dust in front of my car. It's ready, he says. I put it back on the car. While hooking up the top hose, I'm struck by the absolute holiness of existence. The radiator man gives me a bill for $45 and goes back to his office to fill out the forms he sends daily to the alchemists inside the mountain. Discovering no leaks and making causey chit-chat, I give him the bread and drive back up to camp. On the way, I pass other seekers wearing their traditional lederhosen and dreadlocks. I toss granola bars out the window to them, and the bars glint golden as Spanish doubloons as they describe their graceful arcs. At 11:15, temperature gauge just now moving off of cold, I wheel into camp, 5 minutes ahead of vacation schedule. The radiator doesn't boil over like when I shut it off like it has for the last year. Seekers and alchemists break for noon blue-green mana. Carrying messages, we pack up and head north. That afternoon, by 3:19, we make Ashland, and the whole world shines like an Elizabethan pageant.
Really nice poem. Well, thank you very much, John, for being with us today, and thank you all of you. And we see you tomorrow at the same time.
All right.